We'll call this meeting of the Silver City Town Council to order. Please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Councilor Moronis, could I ask you to read the mission?
Yes, Silver City is the hub of an inclusive community settled within a small town that through guided growth honors and preserves its historical, cultural, and natural heritage while facilitating jobs, health, and education resources such that the residents and visitors may enjoy and protect the recreational opportunities of the area and high quality of life.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is public input. I remind you have 5 minutes to talk. If you're looking at me, I'll try to give you a minute warning. And the first up is Nancy Cliff, reference ordinance 1184.
Thank you. I have copies. Can I have a copy?
Sure.
Greetings. I'm Nancy Cliff. I've given you a copy of the statement I made last week with questions about the process of selecting capital projects that will be paid for using proceeds of revenue bonds you're about to purchase pursuant to Ordinance 1184. Today my questions have to do with timing, and I'm providing copies to both of you, to you. When I reviewed the tape of last week's meeting, I heard the bond attorney say that before the town's credit rating is set on October 11th, the capital projects must be selected. Also, he said that these projects must have a lifespan of 80% of the duration of the bonds, which in this case means 16 years. On that tape of the meeting, I heard the mayor say that there will be public participation in selecting those capital projects before they are identified in the bond issue and the October 11 closing date. So, given that October 11 is a little more than 2 weeks away, how will you handle the selection of those projects? Answer the questions I posed last week. I can reread those questions, but they're on the September 13th statement. In particular, how will someone advocate for specific projects? Have public meetings or work sessions been scheduled? The projects need to be evaluated for necessity, cost effectiveness, longevity, and long-term value, and similar kinds of questions. And I remind the mayor that he promised answers before decisions would be made. How have determinations been made, or how will they be made on longevity of the projects that the town has in mind, or that the public might propose by the October 11 deadline? And how can you expect that such public input will be useful, that is open and meaningful, with such a mad scramble? Thanks.
Next is Nancy Gordon on the Waterworks project.
Mayor, councilors, I actually have some public comment about the ICIP, and I wanted to thank the mayor and councilors for their support for the Waterworks project so far, and especially to Councilors Ray and Thompson for signing up for our repointing project that's going on now. We've had over 70 people volunteer to work on replacing the loose mortar with new lime-based traditional mortar, and people seem to enjoy the work, and we're getting a lot done. We've had engineers, scientists, artists, people with a lot of construction experience, and a high percentage of left-handed people working on the project. But they all seem to be interested in saving the old Waterworks building. It looks like we're going to have money left over from this Freeport grant that is paying for the Waterworks work, and also from the Preserve America grant which paid for a master plan by the University of New Mexico in 2008. And I would like to use that towards a design for the roof on the one-story part that you can't see from the road. There basically is no roof. The water just pours through when it rains. And so I'd like to use this money up front to develop a roof design, historically correct, approved by the Historic Preservation Division, so that when money becomes available, we'll have the design in place and ready to go. So with that, I'd like to encourage you to give the Waterworks roof a higher priority on the ICIP, so repairs could be made next year when the design is finished. And if possible, it would be good to modify that to include walls so that the repointing can be finished up above where the volunteers are working now, and also to do some other work on some seriously deteriorated parts of the walls where the stone needs to be treated or replaced. So with that, that's my request. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Next is Susan Alman, to be determined, but probably water.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members, and Silver City residents. My topic is water, and it probably will be for a long time, because as far as life is concerned, water is the bottom line. No water, no life. Was La Vida is my thinking on the subject, and even if I didn't think that, it still would be no water, no life. So I wanted to talk about a couple of subjects real quickly. Recycling, and then that will associate into other topics that are all connected to water. Recycling, we know about recycling water, gray water, wastewater can be recycled. And everything I say applies to residential on a small level, nonprofits on a larger level, big government entities on a larger level, and it all adds up. We have a lot of individual small residentials, and a lot of small things adds up to a big thing. So recycling gray water, collecting rainwater. I know there's a tax if you collect rainwater in barrels or off of the gutters on your roof. We're supposed to pay for it. I'm not too sure who we pay, but that's what I've heard. Rerouting water instead of going down the curbs into the wastewater facility where they process it. It puts a extra strain on them. Let's reroute it back to residential areas, to public parks, etc., to trees. We need trees. We get air from trees. They take CO2 and they make oxygen. We need air to breathe. The tree roots, when they have more water, grow down. That holds water in the ground. It builds up the level of underground water, but also what it does, it prevents another big ditch. It prevents erosion. We have one big ditch. It's beautiful. I don't want 7 or 8. It wouldn't be very practical. It slows down. What it doesn't actually suck up, it slows down. A little runs off. Things start growing around the trees. I've seen beautiful things. Wild sweet peas, sunflowers, all those things beautify the city. And how's my time, Mr. Mayor?
You have 2 minutes.
Good, that's plenty. Recycling food. I've seen so much wasted food. Food makes compost, along with chipped up branches and garden waste. I think that the recycling, I would really like to see our recycling from, I don't know what it's called, but when they come and pick up your things, if we had a separate section for recycling yard waste and food. Then down at the dump, they can make compost. And with the compost, we can feed the trees, the public parks, the government entities. They have nice things around here. And what they don't use, they can sell back to the public. I know it's been tried before. It hasn't worked, but I think that thinking on this has changed a lot. I can tell by looking around this town that it's just blooming. Let's keep it blooming. We can collect it from food programs. Residential, from food programs. The Mission, I see them throw away food. They're not allowed to give it to you to take home in case you want to eat. You know, you can't finish it, but you know at night you'll be hungry. It's a law that they have to throw it away, and it's a shame. We can recycle it back into the earth to make the earth more fertile so we can grow more things in the public gardens, in the community gardens, at homes, etc. So, and they can sell it back to get back the cost that they have of doing this. Okay, thank you.
I have Tom Hester on here, but you're actually for an agenda item, so we'll postpone your talk till then. Good. Next item on the agenda is council comments. Councilor Moronis, would you like to start?
No comments, sir.
Councilor Ray?
I do. I have a comment. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of the work project there at the Waterworks building. Thank you. I appreciate it and hope to do it again soon. That's all.
Thank you. Councilor Thompson?
I just got done with working with the Aldo Leopold kids on the San Vicente trail, and I was thoroughly impressed with the work they're doing. It's doing standard 4 feet tread, and it is really good for the students. They had a little breakdown in the group work environment, and they all worked together to figure it out. And so it convinced me that doing trail work is a great way to learn how to manage people and manage water, and they're two critical things you have to know as a student, I think. Also, I agree with Nancy Cliff that it would be nice to have standards for the decisions that we're going to make regarding the bond issue. And again, I would like to see that we have a work session on the strategic plan. I've said this a number of times. I'd like to get that so that we can nest other decisions within that. I'd be really excited to do that. So those are my only 2 comments.
Thanks. Councilor Beddison?
Thank you, Mayor. At the last meeting, the mayor noted on the redistricting that the principles behind redistricting are numbers-based. And with that, I encourage citizens not to just look at the maps for Plan A1 and Plan B, but to actually look at the numbers. I've been doing a lot of research on redistricting and looking at the numbers for both the population, and then they have voting age, which is 18 plus, for each one of the 2 plans. And just on the basis of the numbers, currently I favor Plan A1 because I think that it balances everything out fairly well with a supermajority of white to non-Hispanic origin in one district, with a supermajority, meaning way over 50% of Hispanic in another district, with 2 of the districts kind of being equal. Plan B does not do that. Plan B has 3 districts being with a slight majority of Hispanics in the voting age, just very slight, just over 50%, with 1 district outstandingly being supermajority of of white non-Hispanic. So I would encourage you to look at these. Both plans are valid under the principles of redistricting. I'm just more concerned about Plan B. So look at the maps, ask for the numbers. Those are available from the town clerk. You can get that and you can make a decision, because I really would encourage any of you that have questions or concerns to please come forward and do that at the October 11th meeting, and even prior to any of the counselors that are up here. And the second thing that I'd like to just say publicly to the chief, I've had several residents call me in the past week wanting me and sincerely thanking you for all the efforts that you have done on their behalf. They really appreciate it, and they just think that you have, that the community service that you're providing, they really appreciate the fact that they can come in and they can talk to you about their concerns. So thank you. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
That's all.
Thanks. Nancy, I will work to address your concerns, and we'll take them seriously. It's never been our intention, as long as I've been the mayor, to try to bury anything, and now's not a time to start. So with that, we will move on to any changes to the agenda. Seeing none. Next is approval of minutes of the regular meeting of the Town Council, September 13, 2011.
Mr. Mayor,
Counselor.
I move that we approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the Town Council on September 13th, 2011.
Mr. Mayor, I second it.
There's a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the Town Council from September 13, 2011. Is there any discussion? There's a motion and a second. No further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is reports. Mr. Brown?
Mayor, I just wanted to let you know that the schedule for the bonds, the deadline for the projects has been moved from the 11th to the 25th. So, and then closing would be on November 8th.
November?
November 8th. That's,
Thank you. Any other department heads? The chief left. Okay. Next item on the agenda is under new business. Item A, endorsement of the Southwest Festival for the written words creation of a poet laureate position for the town of Silver City.
As Silver City is known throughout the great Southwest and beyond as a city where arts and culture are encouraged and supported, today we are asking you, Honorable Mayor and Council, to endorse the establishment of yet one more denomination of cultural currency to be minted in Silver City. We are asking that you officially establish and endorse this afternoon the post of Silver City Poet Laureate. We are further requesting that you here today endorse the efforts of the steering committee for the Southwest Festival of the Written Word to establish the selection process for and the duties of that poet laureate post. With your collective approval, the committee will at a future date bring forth to you these elements, along with your further approval, the installation of the very first poet laureate of Silver City. It is important to note here that we are not asking for any financial support, either for the efforts of the Southwest Festival of the Written Arts Committee or for the establishment and maintenance of the Poet Laureate post. So with that, I would yield the microphone to supporters.
The steering group for the Southwest Festival for the Written Word has been pushing at the idea of having a festival for the last 3 years. And we're now getting to the point where we think that a festival is a doable thing, and we're working with the university. We hope that in a couple of years we will actually have a festival. Meanwhile, we think that a poet laureate would be a fine addition to the arts situation in Silver City.
Mayors, councilors, I just wanted to say that I'm lending support to the idea of a poet laureate, both as my background as a librarian and my position as director of our public library. I believe that the position will provide a focus for the appreciation of the written word, poetry in particular, and that it really will contribute to our identity as a community that really values arts and culture in all its various forms.
Anyone else want to speak or just be recognized as supporters? Just recognized as supporters. Thank you. I have some often asked to provide an endorsement versus legislation of some sort. So I approached our attorney and asked him for a legal opinion. And I'm going to read his legal opinion to you.
That's the written word.
The endorsement herein sought is something new. Thus you have asked for my legal review. Would the multi-source law that governs the town find endorsement illegal for the courts to strike down? The endorsement is not a special act of legislation. It does not grant favor to a political ally or family relation. No preference is granted to a governed person or class, and no town property will see its ownership pass. The endorsement carries no power to censor or promote particular thought, and it appears that no personal privilege is secretly sought. Thus, I see no constitutional impediment, whether federal or state, which would constrain the council to give its endorsement this date. But prior to making motion and taking a vote, there are some points the council should consider and note. Is this organization local and reflective of the town's diversity? Does it have commitment and resources to preserve against adversity? Will its process be intelligent, open, and fair? Will its accomplishments likely cause the town joy or lead to despair? Endorsement is an official act which neither legislates law nor judges fact, but it is no less a part of the council's government-citizen pact. Thus, an official act upon which this council votes must be examined as to what it promotes. Is endorsing a program that honors artistic achievement a proper government role? Is endorsing a program that bestows honor upon a particular poet a worthy goal? Is a town council that endorses and supports artistic celebration overstepping its political role of limited public administration? A vote cast either way will be legal and within the authority you share, and the process that you have followed will be judged as procedurally fair. You only need to consider the evidence that has been heard and express your decision with the written word.
Mayor, if you would ask the town lawyer if he would like to apply for the position. But first, there must be apologies to Dr. Seuss.
I also think it's important to note that the poet appointed should have a body of work. And are there any questions? Any questions, comments, concerns from the council? Anything else from the audience? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Betts.
I move to endorse the Southwest Festival for the Written Word's creation of a poet laureate position for the town of Silver City, with the understanding that the steering committee will work with the town to ensure that it's an open process, an open and transparent process.
I'd like to second it.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? There's a motion and a second to approve the endorsement of the Southwest Festival for the written word creation of a poet laureate position for the town of Silver City, with the criteria that you work with the town on the selection process to ensure that it's transparent and inclusive. There's a motion, second, no further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is approval, disapproval of memorandum of understanding for a regional economic development collaboration.
Mayor and Council, as you know, the coalition, along with the Luna County and Hidalgo County economic development agencies, applied for a SET grant, which is basically a regional, the development of a regional economic development plan. Regional by meaning Luna County, Hidalgo, Catron, and Grant. And through the process, they've decided that they would like to have one central organization that all of the countywide economic development entities will work with to develop the regional economic development plan and implement it. And this shows our support for that regional plan that they've been working on.
Anybody from the audience like to comment on this? Do you want to talk?
I just wanted to be here as a resource in addition to Alex, who's participated and is very knowledgeable about these two groups. We're not asking for financial support at this time, but the hope is that as the Southwest Economic Development Partnership and the Southwest Energy and Green Jobs Task Force continue, and we're developing our strategic plans now, that we can bring the memorandum of understanding to potential funders when appropriate opportunities come about. So we're trying to be ready for those opportunities now. So.
And also I want to say that the coalition did endorse this. They didn't approve it because they don't have the authority to speak for each entity. But as well, the Council of Governments does have economic development funds to work on a regional economic development coordination.
Yes.
I want to say that I'm pleased to see this, and I really appreciate the fact that Senator Bingaman's group, that he started the Southwest New Mexico Energy and Green Jobs Task Force is part and parcel of this, that we're all working together. I know that in the couple of meetings that I went to of the Southwest New Mexico Energy and Green Jobs Task Force, the orientation and everybody was talking about trying to go forward as a region, thinking that we would as a region be able to capture businesses and entities that would grow our economy, that would be economic development. So I think that going forward as a region is a positive move, because it's better to say, well, here's the region, and this is what's great about Deming, and you can put this here, but then there's what's great about Silver City and Grant County, and so everybody is considered, and what it does is it keeps the economic development in our section of New Mexico. So I know that was kind of a roundabout way of saying that I think this is great.
That was a long way of saying it.
I know, roundabout, long way of exploring what I was thinking, thinking
Thank you.
to say.
Any other comments? Maureen, are you the one that attended the SET training that would be representing us specifically, or?
Actually, our whole group did. The training is formally concluded, although USDA Rural Development has on loan to us Dr. Michael Patrick from NMSU and cooperative extension, because the cooperative extension programs were a key part of creating the SET program. By the way, we've created a name for our economic development group, which is the Southwest New Mexico Economic Development Partnership. And so when you hear